I think that's working there. Yeah, we're recording. Here's what I want to talk about. It's probably the biggest topic that I've been seeing for a couple days. This is what it is, okay? It's it's borders, right? Borders are violence, and I'm gonna get to that. And it's immigration. Immigration is violent, and I'm gonna get to that. But let's talk about why these ideas are even there in the first place. It's indoctrination. They're not actually real. They don't exist. You can't say one group of people or another immigrating through your walls is any worse than when in your walls at all. Some people will say, well, we're trying to stop the influx here. Influx is always going to exist. It's going to come from this side or that side. You're not going to defeat the problems that you fear until you start to realize why they exist in the first place. They exist because of, of indoctrination. It is a divide and conquer technique, a system of control that's been used forever, right? You have to divide the population you want to control because if they all think together, they will revolt. It's been proven through time. So the occult, that occult information, don't want you to know certain things. They only want you to know some things. So the mainstream media tells you, oh, there's just so many cartels coming out of Mexico. There's so many cartels. There's all the drugs coming from there. We've got to stop it. We've got to build a wall. Understand that all these drugs are not coming in here on their own. And a wall's not going to stop it because the government wants those drugs to be here. Like they want alcohol to be here. They want to fuck you up and dumb you down. Look, Big Pharma is the biggest drug dealer in the world. Nobody's doing anything about it. Your government actually promotes using drugs on kids that are hyper or, you know, just really fast or whatever disability to dumb Ritalin, for example, right? They're giving it to 8-year-old, 6-year-old kids. Their brain was probably just bigger, and they were hyperactive because they were a little bit more intelligent than everybody else. Who knows? But why would you be giving drugs to those kids? Get them hooked on that shit. Oxycodones, Percocets, THC, they've got all kinds of drugs, and they're giving them out there on a mass scale. Oxycodones, for instance, man, these big pharma groups made billions, trillions of dollars, and the doctors were handing them out like candy. They still hand them out like candy. I don't care what kind of laws they told you that they made. Cigarettes, booze, all this other shit. But let's not get off the subject here. It's not the cartels that are bringing the money. You're not going to be able to take groups and separate them and think that that's going to stop things. These things exist all the time, right? They want people to fear, or they want to make one group of people fear another group of people, right? Now you have a divide thing. They're doing it mainly to keep your focus on that magic trick of chaos. So long as we can keep you focused on that, then the actual illusion that's happening back here, you don't even see. You're so focused on this, you're so scared of this. This is everything. This is everything that there is. And then boom. The reason the magic trick happened in the first place succeeded. You never even seen it happen. This entire border wall thing is definitely not about child trafficking. Child trafficking happens right here in our states, people. Those orphaned kids, those disappeared kids, that exists. But since it exists and you're scared of it, they want you to tell it's all coming from there. And and the wall, it's not about the wall, man. It's not about building the wall is also going to support keeping you in here. And then they're going to continue to work on their guns confiscating technique. What have they done in that instance? They've just built a wall for your prison. Now they can control you. More control. People aren't looking at this shit, right? They're taking all the things that people fear and telling them it's coming from there. These are false flags, people. They do this all the time. You're not going to stop child trafficking because you're going to build a wall and you're going to isolate a group of people. You're not going to do that. You're not going to stop drugs because you're isolating certain people behind a wall. You're not going to do that. It's not going to slow it down. It's not going to do all that. But they want you to believe all that shit. They want you to believe all that shit. They want to separate you from the Mexicans, just like voting. They want to separate a small group of us into a Democrat group and a small group of us in the Republican group, right? Boom, boom, boom. We're all fighting. We're voting against each other. We're constantly voting against each other because that's what they want to think that the voting system works, right? Oh, this guy, you don't like this guy. Oh, then this group could vote that group out, and this vote group. It's just a continuing circle of chaos. You got to understand why you have these fucking fears. But you weren't born with them. You didn't grow up thinking about them. Blacks didn't hate whites automatically. They didn't. A black kid and a white kid didn't grow up with anger. Somebody put it in the people that raised them up, and that's how it was created. Same thing that they're doing right here, people. There's no difference. There's no difference at all. Like, I don't even have to make a really big video. There was a discussion that happened here earlier, about me being angry. Listen, if the person is watching this, I'm not angry at you. I understand that you're part of a movement that has good ideals, but if you're going to fight the group that gave you the ideals and still have the ideals, then you're not actually in the battle. The first thing that you got to do if you want to be in this battle is you got to unlearn everything that you've been taught and question everything that's going through your head. And is it something that you really, really fear, or is it a fear that was given to you? And then you got to question why. You got to question why. The same things that you do in life all the time, every day, all the time, with everybody that you're around. Well, just give me $20. Why would somebody just give me $20? People don't use that kind of thinking, critical thinking, when it applies to what the media or the government has instilled to them. It doesn't apply when it goes against their belief system. Then they're going to battle it to the end, right? They're going to come up with every excuse why this makes sense because somebody else gave it to you. They created the belief system that you fear, or they can use you to, get into a pack mentality state of mind with a giant group of people and use it against another giant group of people. It's a divide and conquer technique. People talk about it at the dinner table with their friends all the time, but they're not seeing it when it actually happens to them. They're not seeing it at all. So when you say, oh, we got to get these immigrants out of here, well, they're not actually doing anything here. Borders are violence. If borders were supposed to exist, they would exist. Rivers, oceans, things like that. Borders don't need to exist. You don't need governments. You don't need a state. You don't need to own a giant portion of land for, a specific sort of people and then block out another one because, they're going to be bad. They're not part of your group. They're not part of your tribe. You got to let go of all that shit. You got to live by natural law and realize that whether you have the system of authority that is going to multiply anything that could possibly happen by 10, and then have this small group of people at the top that's not in this whole little war, profit from it, and continue it upon your children and everybody else, you are in fact making it a bigger problem. You got to stop thinking authority is going to make everything better. Take it, throw it away. Realize that anything that makes you believe that they exist in the first place out of fear only exists because they wanted to. If they didn't exist and we begun to educate our children, you know, on a playing field that everybody's the same, then we would have less things that, you know, we fear or we hate or we don't like or we don't approve of, right? We would have less abortion. You would have less drug trafficking. We'd have less of everything, right? They're not really educating you on how to educate your kids. They're teaching you how to exist in a system of authority, right? And give us your kids. You guys work because you guys want to have this house, this car, this whatever. Give us your kids. We'll teach your kids, right, through the system. And you believe us because we taught you, and look how everything turned out. And it's just a revolving scale. Getting back to the point of what I said, your fear of a people for one reason or another is not something you came up with all by yourself. It isn't. You got to really, really think about it. It's not an idea that you came up with yourself. It was given to you. It was given to you. And these problems, if they would have existed one way or another. And it doesn't matter if a specific group was here and there. The borders aren't going to change anything. Matter of fact, if there wasn't borders and there wasn't authority, we would have a little point of chaos there. That is a turning point all the time. But if we continue to educate our kids, all of us educate our kids, we would evolve to a greater species. They don't want that though, because that would mean a small group of people, and there's always going to be people that are going to have better ideas or be ahead of the pack. But for them to have control so that you can all benefit like them is just stupid. You can ask for their guidance, you can have their help, you can try to achieve things like them, but to make them an authoritarian figure, thinking that the whole world's going to be better because you put somebody that you idolized in place is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's never going to work out. When you give one person that you think is great power because you believe in ideals that they want, but not everybody believes in that person or those ideals, right? Then that person then in fact be like, oh, well, these guys like what I'm doing. I got to make everybody do it. What do you have again? You have a system of coercion. Whether you wanted it or not, you just systematically fucked everything up that you were trying to achieve. And you violated everybody else in the course of doing so. You got to really, really, really break it down and start to think about why you do the things you do and what made you think that way.